know that feeling when you check your bank account and think, where did all that money go? You worked for it. You earned every single dollar, but somehow, at the end of the month, you're looking at a balance that doesn't reflect the effort you put in. Here's what I've noticed. Two people can make the exact same income, let's say $60,000 a year, and have completely different financial outcomes 5 years later. One person is building real wealth. The other is still stressed about money. Same paycheck, different worlds. And it's not because one of them got lucky or has a secret investment account. The difference is in how they think. Most of us grow up with a pretty limited understanding of money. We're taught the mechanics. Go to school, get a job, pay your bills. But nobody really teaches you why you spend the way you spend. Nobody explains how your brain is wired around money in ways that most people don't even realize. We assume that if we just make more money, everything will be okay. So we chase the promotion, the bigger paycheck, the next income bump. And sometimes we get it. And sometimes we feel exactly the same. That's because income and wealth aren't the same thing. And if you don't understand the psychology behind money, even a six-figure salary won't create real financial freedom. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Wealth building is about 80% psychology and only 20% strategy. You can have the perfect investment plan, the right portfolio, the smartest moves on paper. But if your mind isn't aligned, you'll sabotage yourself before you ever get ahead. Let me break down what I mean by this 80-20 split, because it sounds bold, but it's true. Strategy is the easy part. If you search for how to build wealth, you'll find thousands of resources. Invest in index funds. Max out your retirement account. Keep your expenses low. Don't buy things you don't need. These are all solid strategies. They work. They're not even that complicated. But knowing what to do and actually doing it are two completely different things. Think about New Year's resolutions with fitness. Everyone knows that to lose weight, you need to eat better and move more. It's not a mystery. But knowing doesn't make people stick to the gym. Why? Because the strategy isn't the barrier. The mindset is. The same applies to money. You can know exactly what to do, but if your relationship with money is fractured, you won't do it consistently. Your mindset around money is shaped by decades of experiences. What your parents said about money, how you felt when there wasn't enough, the shame you might feel around spending, the validation you get from status symbols, the fear of losing what you have. All of these are psychological layers that run deep. And here's the thing. Most people try to build wealth while still operating from a scarcity mindset. They're making good decisions on paper, but they're making them from a place of fear, not confidence. From a place of deprivation, not abundance. So they'll invest $500 a month, but they'll feel anxious the entire time. They'll second-guess themselves. They'll panic when the market dips and pull out at the worst possible time. They'll resist taking calculated risks because their nervous system is in a state of threat. Strategy says, do this. Mindset says, can I actually trust myself to do this? And mindset always wins. Your brain makes financial decisions in two different systems. There's the rational part, the part that understands compound interest and inflation. And then there's the emotional part, the part that sees a sale and gets a dopamine hit, or sees someone else's success and feels a pang of inadequacy. Most of the time, emotion wins, and we don't even know it's happening. Let's say you're walking through a store and you see something you like. Objectively, you don't need it. You have the money, but it's not budgeted. But something inside you says, you deserve this. You've had a stressful week. Just buy it. No, and you do. And for about 15 minutes, you feel good. You feel like you earned it. You feel in control. But that feeling fades, and what you're left with is guilt and the realization that you just spent money you were supposed to be investing. What just happened? Your brain was seeking emotional regulation. Money, in that moment, wasn't about the object. It was about soothing yourself. It was about proving something to yourself, that you're successful, that you matter, that you can have what you want. This is called emotional spending, and it happens to the smartest people. It's not a character flaw. It's just how our nervous systems are designed. Then there's another layer, status. We live in a world where what you own is somehow reflective of who you are. Your car says something about you. Your clothes say something. Your home says something. And if someone you respect or envy has something, your brain starts calculating. If I have that too, maybe I'll feel like that person. This is why someone making $200,000 can feel poor if all their friends make $300,000. It's not logical, but it's real. Your brain is also wired to avoid loss more intensely than it's wired to seek gain. Psychologists call this loss aversion. Losing $100 hurts more than gaining $100 feels good. It's disproportionate. This is why people hold on to losing investments. They don't want to accept the loss, so they hold on, hoping it bounces back. Or why people stay in jobs they hate, because the fear of losing income is greater than the pull towards something better. All of these mechanisms are just how human brains evolved. They kept us safe when resources were scarce. But in a modern, abundant economy, these same mechanisms often work against us. Once you start seeing these patterns, you realize how many money traps are actually psychological traps. Status obsession is the first one. The pressure to look successful is real, and it's exhausting. You upgrade your car to match your income. You move to a nicer neighborhood because you deserve it. You wear the right brands, and suddenly you're house poor, car rich, but wealth poor. You're performing success while being financially stressed. The trap isn't that wanting nice things is wrong. It's that you're using nice things to fill an emotional hole, and no purchase will actually fill that hole. There will always be something shinier, something that someone else has, something that makes you feel like you're not enough. Then there's impulse buying and the illusion of control. You have a rough day, so you scroll through your phone and buy something. 3 times a week, you're making emotional purchases. $50 here, $100 there. At the end of the year, that's thousands that could have compounded. But here's the psychological part. Each purchase feels small and manageable. It feels like you're taking control. You're making a choice, and that feels good in the moment. But it's actually robbing you of control long term. Your brain makes financial decisions in 2 different systems. There's the rational part, the part that understands compound interest and inflation. And then there's the emotional part, the part that sees a sale and gets a dopamine hit. Most of the time, emotion wins, and we don't even know it's happening. You're not trying to change anything yet. You're just becoming aware. The second part is reframing your internal dialogue. When you catch yourself thinking, I can't afford this, ask yourself, how could I afford this if I really wanted to? It's not positive thinking or delusion. It's opening up possibility instead of shutting it down. If you feel anxious about investing, instead of ignoring that feeling, get curious about it. Where does that anxiety come from? Is it fear of loss? Fear of making a wrong choice? Fear that you don't deserve well? Once you know the real source, you can actually address it. And then there's the practical part. Start making 1 intentional financial decision per week. Just 1. Maybe it's automating an investment so you don't have to think about it. Maybe it's having an honest conversation about money with someone you trust. Maybe it's sitting with the discomfort of not buying something you want. Each small decision is rewiring your nervous system. It's proving to yourself that you can do hard things with money. The final piece is connecting money to what it actually means to you. For most people, money isn't really about money. It's about freedom, security, choice, or peace of mind. When you're clear on what money actually means to you, every financial decision becomes easier. The truth is, wealth isn't about how much you make. It's about how much you keep. And more importantly, it's about how you feel about what you have. 2 people can have the same net worth and have completely different experiences. One feels stressed and anxious. The other feels calm and in control. The difference is psychology. And here's what gives me hope. Psychology can change. You can't change your past. You can't change what you've already spent. But you can change how you think about money going forward. And that changes everything. Start small. Be patient with yourself. The goal isn't perfection. The goal is progress. It's making slightly better decisions today than you made yesterday. It's becoming a little bit more aware of your patterns. It's trusting yourself a little bit more. That's how wealth actually gets built, not through one big decision, but through hundreds of small decisions made from a place of clarity instead of fear.